Okay, we're going to go over the Unit 10 review for factoring. And so the first question or questions is saying to factor completely. So let's go through our steps. Our first way to factor is GCF, which is greatest common factor. The second way, if GCF doesn't work, then we need to do grouping, which consists of 4 terms. If that doesn't work, the third way we need to try will be the trinomial, and with no lead coefficient. If that doesn't work, then we'll try the trinomial with a lead coefficient. And if that doesn't work, then we'll look and see if we don't have a special case. All right, so let's look at number 1. It says to factor completely, so the first way I'm going to try is the GCF. So I look and I notice in all of my numbers I could factor out a 5. And then variables, we have x's in all of them, and this is the one with the smallest exponent, so I'll factor out an x. And then we multiply. 5 times what will give me the 20? That'll be a 4. I need x to the 4th, and I only have an x so far, so that means I'm missing x to the 3rd power. Minus 5 times what will give me 10, and that would be 2. I need x cubed. I only have an x, so that means I'm missing an x squared. Plus 5 times what will give me the 15, and that will be a 3. I need x squared. I only have an x, so I'm missing one x. Minus 5 times what will give me 25, and that will be a 5. I need an x. I already have an x, so I'm not putting an x, so I am finished. So look at number 2. Again, let's try GCF. If I look at my numbers, I have a 6, a 12, and a 9, so I know I can factor out a 3. And then I have, again, x's in all of them. X to the 1st power is my smallest exponent. And then I'll start multiplying. 3 times what will give me 6? That will be 2. I need x cubed. I only have an x, so we're needing an x squared. Plus 3 times what will give me 12? That's going to be 4. I need x squared, and I only have an x, so I'm missing an x. Minus 3 times what will give me 9? That'll be a 3. And I need an x, but I already have it, so I close my parentheses, and I am done. All right, let's keep going. Number 3, again, let's try GCF first. And I notice between 24, 18, and 30, I can factor out a 6. And then I don't have x's in all my terms, so 6 is going to be it. So 6 times what will give me 24? That's going to be 4. And then, of course, all my x's are staying, so I'm going to have x to the 5th. Plus 6 times what will give me 18? And that will be 3. And again, my x's are staying. Minus 6 times what will give me 30, and that is going to be a 5. So this one has 6x, that's not it. This one is 3, that's not it. This one is 3x, that's not it. Here we go, 6. 4x to the 5th plus 3x to the 4th minus 5. We got it. So number 4, again, if I try to do GCF, I have 14, 35, 8, and 20. There is not a number that will go into all 4 terms, and I don't have an x in this one, so it looks like I cannot do GCF. So remember, my second one was grouping, and I have 4 terms, so I will group the first 2, and I'll group the second 2, and then I do GCF. So common here between 14 and 35, it looks like I can factor out a 7. I have x squared and x, so I will factor out an x. And then we'll multiply. 7 times what is 14? That'll be 2. I need x squared. I only have an x, so I'm missing an x. Plus 7 times what will be 35? And that will be a 5. I need an x, but I already have one here, so I'll close my parentheses. Move on to the next one. Between 8 and 20, it looks like I can factor out a 4, and that will be a positive 4. I don't have an x's in both terms, so 4 is it. So 4 times what will give me 8, and that will be 2. And I need an x, and I don't have one at all, so I'll put an x. Plus 4 times what will give me 20, and that will be a 5. And then notice that my parentheses are the same, which is what needs to happen. So what I factored out, the 7x plus 4, I'll put in one parentheses. The 2x plus 5 that's repeating, I will put in the other parentheses, and that is my answer. Okay, let's look at number 5. Again, GCF-wise, it doesn't look like I have a number that'll go into all 4 terms. I don't have an x in all of my terms, so I can't do GCF. Second way would be grouping. I have 4 terms, so let's try it. I'm going to group the first 2. Because this one has a minus or a negative next to the 8x, I need to squeeze that inside my parentheses and put a plus. So number-wise, 20 and 15, I can factor out a 5. X squared and x, I can factor out an x. Let's multiply. 5 times what gives me 20? That will be 4. I need x squared and I have 1x, so I'm missing an x, plus 5 times what will give me 15? That will be a 3. I need an x and I already have an x, so I'm done with this one. In the next, it looks like I can factor out a 2, and because this is negative right here, I'm factoring out a negative 2. So negative 2 times what will give me 8, and that's going to be 4. And then I need an x, and I don't have an x at all, so I'm going to put an x. And then negative 2 times what will give me a negative 6, that's going to be a positive 3, and that's all I need. Again, my parentheses are the same, so what I factored out, the 5x minus 2, will go in the first set of parentheses. The 4x plus 3 will go in the second set, and I am done. Okay, let's go ahead and look at number 6. Again, let's see, GCF. It doesn't look like there's a number that I can factor out of all of them. So let's try grouping because I have 4 terms. So I'm going to group the first 2, and then I'm going to group the second 2. Put that plus sign here because I had to squeeze the negative in. So looking at the first set of parentheses, it looks like I can factor out a 5 and an x to the second power. Let's multiply. So 5 times what will give me 15? Well, 5 times 3. And then I need x cubed, and I only have x squared, so I'm missing an x. Minus 5 times what will give me the 35? That's going to be a 7. I need x squared, and I already have x squared, so I'll close that parentheses. In the next set, it looks like I can factor out a 2, and again, because the first one is a negative, we're going to factor out a negative 2. And I don't have x's in all 4 terms. In both terms, so no x. So negative 2 times what will give me a negative 6? That's going to be 3. And then I need an x here, and I don't have an x here, so I'm going to put an x. And then negative 2 times what will give me a positive 14? Well, that's going to be a negative 7. Close my parentheses. Again, parentheses are the same. So that means we are going to have 5x squared minus 2. And then I'm going to repeat the parentheses, 3x minus 7. So this one is 3x squared, 5x squared this is plus 2, but I need a minus 2. Then we have 5x squared minus 2 and 3x minus 7. So D is going to be it. Okay, so number 7, again, if we do GCF, I don't have numbers in all of them, and I don't have variables in all of them, so I can't do GCF. Next way would be grouping. I don't have 4 terms, so I can't do grouping. The next way was a trinomial with no lead. So we have a trinomial with no lead coefficient. So that means I can put my parentheses right away. Whatever this variable is, x squared, I'm going to put an x and an x. And then we're going to factor 24. So we'll fill in our little chart. So we have 1 times 24 and 2 times 12 and 3 times 8 and 4 times 6. I think that's all. And then we will add and we will subtract. And we will add and we will subtract. And add and subtract. And add and subtract. And so we are looking for our middle term of 10. But if you'll notice, I found it twice, right? So remember, we look then at this sign, that's the plus, so that means we go to the plus column. So we're going to be using the 4 and the 6. And because it's in the plus column, that means my signs are the same and they're whatever this sign is. So we're going to have a plus and a plus. And then we'll have the numbers 4 and 6. And there's my answer. Okay, number 8, same thing. I don't have a greatest common factor. I cannot do grouping. I have a trinomial with no lead coefficients. So I will put my parentheses, and x squared is x times x. And then we will factor 27. So we have 1 times 27 and 3 times 9. I think that's all. So we're going to add and then subtract and add and subtract. I am looking for 6. I found it here. That means I'm using 3 and 9 for my numbers. It's in the minus column, which means my signs are going to be different. So I'll put my 3 and my 9 in here, and this sign goes with the larger of these two numbers, so the 9 gets to be positive and the 3 gets to be negative. Okay, number 9. Again, no GCF, I can't do grouping, I have a trinomial, no lead. So I can immediately put my parentheses. It's x squared, so I'm putting x and x. I'm going to factor my last term, which is 40. I have 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 4 times 10, 5 times 8. I will add and subtract, add and subtract, add and subtract, add and subtract. And I am looking for the middle term of 3. I found it here. That means I'll use 5 and 8. It's in the minus column. That means my signs are going to be different. So we'll put my 5 and my 8 here. This sign goes to the larger of these two numbers, so 8 gets the negative and 5 gets the positive. So let's see, 4 and 10, 4 and 10, 5 and 8. 5 is positive, 8 is negative. Looks like C is going to be the winner.